So many things it requires me to authorize now to get in. Recording in progress. Got it? Yes, yes, yes.
The way of the future. This
Hey, I want to tell you this. I appreciate that even though I know your courtroom is open, you continue to keep the YouTube feed going. It sure makes it helpful for us. I've been fighting with a lot of the judges now to say, come on, it makes y'all's job easier too, because those of us that watch are ready to go when it's time. But
Sure.
anyway, thanks for doing that.
No problem. I like it, and I know some people just jump on to watch too as well. I feel like it's a great way to keep the courts open to the public. Anybody can jump on anytime and watch if they want to. Now, I will say this, Mr. Jonker, I'm sure you've seen the Supreme Court orders, most recent one, and it's going to cause me to have to change up the probate proceedings dramatically. I'm creating a form today, as this all starts March 1st, where you will have to sign off an agreement to being on Zoom. It does require testimony, and I cannot force anybody to conduct a Zoom hearing anymore after March 1st that requires testimony. So
you can't force them to, but they can still do it if they sign off on it.
If they sign off and agree to it. Yes.
A new form to add into our intake.
Yes, I know. It's always something. So, but I will say this, so what's going to happen is every other docket will be in person. And so it'll be like Zoom in person, just to make it work. Because I know there's going to be attorneys that say, no, I don't want to do it Zoom. I want to do it in person. Fine. I'll provide that option for you, but it's going to limit the amount of Zoom dockets too. So
that's fine. You're still usually one of the two easiest to get a docket for. So I'm not.
Yeah. I don't want to hear complaints from anybody. I have 5 cases set on the docket today. 5 cases. I know attorneys, not saying you, but there's attorneys that complain. I can't, I can't get his docket my case set soon enough. I've got 5 cases set this morning. So yeah. All right, Mr. Junker, you ready? I see your client's sitting next to you.
Yes, this is Bart Dane. So we're doing this one. I assume this is the one we're doing first because it's the simple one. And then I don't know if you have me right after this, but you may want to go to the other one, and then I'll go grab my other client, and you can just come back to me. That way nobody else is waiting on me.
So yeah, you are set second, but you want me to skip you on the second case, get all the people together, and I'll move on to
that would be perfect. I've got one in here and the other 2 are on Zoom, but just so whoever's third doesn't have to wait for me to go get her and bring her in, so they can just go ahead and we'll be ready when you come back to us at number 3.
All right. Well, Mr. Hoke's third, so I'll move him to second, and then I'll bring you in third then. So
okay.
Let's go and take care of Mr. Dane's case. All right, we're on the record in 23 CPR 038681, the state of Lindell G. Dane. Mr. Dane, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Junker.
Your Honor, we are here in the estate of Lindell Dane. I call my one and only witness, applicant Bart Dane. Bart, what was your relation to Lindell Dane?
I'm his son.
And did he pass away on November 19th of last year here in Richmond?
In Rosenberg.
In Roseburg, I'm sorry. I'm reading my notes wrong. And at the time of his passing, he was permanently living in Rosenberg, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask the court take judicial notice that the original will is on file with the court. I'm going to show him just a copy I have right here rather than sharing it with the screen, if that's okay.
I'll put it up on the screen for you as well, but yes, I will take judicial notice.
Okay. Bart, you recognize that as the will that we filed with the court. And Judge, if you go to that last page for us. You recognize that as Dad's signature, correct?
Yes.
And it was witnessed by 2 folks, and then one more page, Judge. And everyone also signed that self-proving affidavit, so it was properly executed. So we didn't need Sandy or anybody else here today, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, you can take that down. Thank you. Now, Dad was at least 18 and of sound mind when he signed that will. He never revoked it, did he?
No.
Did he have any children born to him or adopted by him after he signed the will? Did he dissolve a marriage? Meaning, did he get divorced or annul a marriage? Did he give anything to the state of Texas or any governmental agency or charity that we need to give further notice to?
No.
The will named you and your mother, Elena Dane, to serve as co-independent executors, correct?
Yes.
Now, mom passed away previously.
Yes.
When was that again?
2018.
Okay, and we've probated her estate.
Yes.
Now, so you are supposed to serve now as the independent executor, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any reason that you would not be able to serve, that you'd be disqualified from serving?
No.
And there is a need to administer the estate. We have some assets that are requiring some letters testamentary to take care of, correct?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor. We'd ask that the will of Lindell Dane be admitted to probate and letters testamentary issued, no bond, appraisers waived to Bart Dane.
All right, court heard the testimony of Bart Dane. He testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will and probate and appoint Mr. Dane as independent executor to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Mr. Dane, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Judge. See you again in a minute.
I'm going to go ahead and put you back in the waiting room, Mr. Junction,
Perfect.
and then I'll bring you right back in after this next case.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm trying, Judge, having some computer issues.
It's all right.
Here we go. All right.
All right.
Your
Mr.
day just got better. You got to see my face.
Well, let me ask you this. My day'd be even better. Is your client with you there? Can I
She
see?
is sitting next to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna just turn the computer as soon as we get started so where you can see her.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record
right.
of 22 CPR 038432, estate of Patricia C. Brown. Ms. Brown, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I'm sorry.
Say it louder.
Yes, I did.
No, thank you. You may lower your hand. Mr. Hoke, you may take it from here.
Thank you, Judge. Laura, state your full name.
Laura and Beth.
All right. And also, well, Brown, same, and this is the estate of your mother, Patricia, correct?
Right.
And Patricia died March 19th of 2022 at the age of 87, yes?
Yes.
And at the time of her death, she was living at 3702 McDonough Way in Katy, which is in Fort Bend County. And that's where she was residing at the date of her death, correct?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show you a copy of what we filed with the court, which you said this is her last will. Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Do you recognize her signature on that document?
Yeah.
And this is a document that she prepared on July 2nd of 2020, right? Excuse me. As far as you know, she never did anything to revoke this will.
Mhm.
She didn't create any new ones.
Mhm.
You know for a fact this was her only will.
Yeah.
After she signed this will in 2020, she didn't have any children. She didn't adopt any children. And she wasn't divorced. And there is a necessity to administer this estate because of some assets she has that you have to have these letters before they'll deal with you, correct?
Yes.
Her will doesn't name the state of Texas, any governmental agencies or charities as beneficiaries, does it? You don't know of any way that you would be disqualified from serving as independent executrix of her estate. And you're asking the court to waive any need for appraisals. You don't need that at this point. Right? Are you asking the court to approve your application and name you as of today as the independent executrix of your mother's estate? Pass the witness, Judge.
Right. Court heard the testimony of Loranne Brown. She testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will into probate and appoint Miss Brown as independent executrix to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Miss Brown, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Judge, and we'll get sign off on the proof and the oath, and we'll get those filed today.
Thank you, Mr. Hoke.
Thank
Great
you,
to
Judge.
see you. Have a
Good
good
to see you. You too.
Judge, do you see our witness? There they are. Great. Here, let me get you to scoot in here just a little bit. There we go.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Can everybody hear me just fine?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038599, estate of Charlie David Craig Sr. Now, all those who intend to testify, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Junker, you may take it from here.
Your Honor, I told my witnesses that we only needed one of them, but they're both here today, so we'll go ahead and ask them both questions. So I'll start with subscribing witness Allison Bauerfield. Allison, I just butchered your name. Could you state your name properly for the judge?
Allison Bauernfeind.
Bauernfeind. There we go. Judge, if you could put the will up on the screen.
I shall do so. 1 second.
All right. Allison, do you recognize this document as the will of Charlie David Craig Sr.?
Yes, sir.
Were you present that day with Charlie and James when he signed that will?
Yes.
He signed it at the same time that both of y'all were there, and all three of you signed it in front of each other, correct?
Yes.
Now, is that your signature on the will?
Yes.
And as far as you know, when he signed that will, he was at least 18 and of sound mind, correct?
Yes.
And do you have any interest in his estate, or were you just doing this because y'all wanted to help out your neighbor in executing his will?
Just helping out the neighbor.
All right. Thank you. I'll pass this witness, Your Honor.
Call your next witness.
Your Honor, I'll call James Bauernfeind. James, I know I've butchered your name again, but if you would like to say it for the record one more time correctly.
James Bauernfeind.
Okay. Now, you recognize that as Charlie's will, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were there present with Charlie and with Allison when he signed that will?
Yes.
Do you recognize that as your signature on the will?
Yes, it is.
And once again, as far as you know, he was 18 and appeared to be of sound mind when he was signing the will.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any interest in this estate, or again, were you just serving as a disinterested witness who was next door neighbor, wanted to help out so he could execute his will?
Yeah, just a next door neighbor.
All right. Thank you, Judge. You can take the will off the screen. We appreciate that. I will call my next witness, Maria Fatima Craig. Maria, what was your relation to Charlie?
Spouse.
And did he pass away on March 8th of 2022 in Rosenberg?
Yes.
At the time of his was he living in Fort Bend County?
Yes,
Now you've seen the will, and you were there when that was signed too, weren't you?
yes,
Okay. Your Honor, I forgot to ask, would the court please take judicial notice that the original will is on file with the court?
The court shall take judicial notice.
Now, was Charlie of sound mind and at least 18 when he signed that will?
yes,
Did he give anything to the state of Texas or any charity that we need to give further notice to?
no,
Did he ever revoke that will?
no,
Were any children born to him or adopted by him after he signed that will?
no,
Did he dissolve a marriage, meaning did he get divorced or annul a marriage after he signed the will?
no,
And the will names you as independent executrix, correct?
yes,
There is a need to administer his estate. We need to appoint you as executrix and get letters testimony, right?
yes,
And is there any reason you'd be disqualified from serving?
no,
Nothing further, Your Honor. We'd ask that you admit the will of Charlie David Craig Sr. to probate and letters testimony issued to Maria Fatima Craig, no bond and appraisers waived.
All right, the court heard the testimony of Allison Bauerfein, James Bauerfein, and Maria Fatima Craig. They all testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will under probate and appoint Maria Fatima Craig as independent executrix to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived. Ms. Craig, I'm very sorry for your loss.
thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Have a
Mr.
great
Junker, anything further for the record?
No, and I don't know if you have that other case that you need, or if it got reset that you need me. I think the other attorney filed some things to withdraw it, so everyone knows that it's uncontested at this point. The Martinez, is that
That's
docket?
coming up. No, I don't need you. We're good.
Okay, yeah, we're good on that too, and we'll talk with them after the fact, but there is no contest going on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Junker. Have a great day.
You too. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you all for coming in. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, we're just waiting for Ms. Nunez to connect her audio. Ms. Lopez,
Good morning, Your Honor.
good morning. We're going to need you for this hearing. Just so everybody's aware, when we're going to speak in short sentences, we're going to maybe 1-2 sentences max, allow Ms. Lopez to translate. If somebody is passing a witness or someone else is going to speak, pause, allow Ms. Lopez to translate the statements made by the previous witness, and then you may ask your question or statement, whatever the case may be. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 21 CPR 035952, estate of Alex M. Martinez.
Se abren las actas sobre la causa número 21 CPR 035952 sobre el patrimonio del causante Alex Martínez.
All those who intend to testify, if you would raise your right hand to be sworn by the court.
Si todas las partes que van a prestar declaración, levanten su mano derecha, por favor, para que les tomen el juramento.
Each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Cada uno de ustedes jura solemnemente o da fe que el testimonio que están a punto de dar ante este tribunal será la verdad, toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad. ¿Jura por Dios?
Juro por Dios que es la
I
verdad.
do, so help me God, to tell the truth.
Ms. Nunez, if you would unmute yourself, please. Ms. Nunez, if you just unmute yourself, please.
Yes.
Very good.
Sorry, I don't.
Ms. Zambrano, you may take it from here. Please, again, pause only a couple sentences to allow Ms. Lopez to translate.
Señora Zambrano, ahora tiene usted la palabra. Por favor, asegúrese de hacer y de hablar pausadamente para que la intérprete pueda interpretar todo a la señora.
I would first like to start with Ms. Trina Marie Nunez.
Primero,
ma'am.
quisiera empezar con la testigo Trina Marie Núñez.
Ms. Nunez, your name is Trina Marie Nunez, correct?
Correct.
Señora Núñez, su nombre es Trina Marie Núñez, correcto.
On June 8th, 2010, were you a witness to the execution of the last will and testament of the decedent Alex M. Martinez?
El 8 de junio de 2010 fue usted testigo de la firma de un testamento dejado por Alex Martínez.
Sí, yes.
Yes.
And Your Honor, would you like me to share the screen, or is it okay for me to just proceed with my questions?
I can share. You can put the will up.
Yes, sir.
Sí, vamos a poner el testamento en la pantalla.
I've got it.
Lo
Thank you, Your
tengo.
Honor.
Gracias, su señoría.
Okay. Ms. Nunez, this document on the screen, it purports to be his last will and testament. And on the last page, I would like you to please tell me if that is your signature.
Señora Núñez, este documento es el que usted considera fue la última voluntad y testamento del causante y reconoce usted que fue la firma en la última página.
Yes, this is mine and Vincente Solis' signatures.
Yes, sí, esas son las firmas.
Do you recognize that to be the signature of the decedent Alex Martinez?
¿Reconoce usted que esa, la firma que se muestra en esta última página es la firma del causante, del finado?
Yes.
Sí.
And on that date that the will was executed, did you watch the decedent, along with Mr. Vincent, the other witness, sign his will?
Y en esa fecha, usted fue testigo del causante cuando firmó dicho testamento. Usted lo vio firmar ese testamento junto con el otro testigo, el señor Vincent.
Yes.
Sí.
And to the best of your knowledge, on that date, the decedent was over the age of 18 and of sound mind and executing willingly?
Y en esa misma fecha, usted tenía conocimiento que el finado era mayor de 18 años, que gozaba de su sano juicio y que firmó dicho testamento a voluntad propia.
Sí, yes.
Yes. Yes.
And on that date, were you and the other witness, Vincent Solis, both over the age of 14 and of sound mind?
Yes.
Y en esa fecha, usted y el señor Vincent, el otro, Vincent Solís, el otro testigo, ¿eran mayores de edad? Sí.
And you are not being paid or compensated in exchange for your testimony today, correct?
Y es correcto que usted no está siendo pagada o remunerada de alguna forma para prestar su declaración el día de hoy acerca de este testamento, ¿correcto?
Correcto.
Correct.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Su señoría, he terminado mis preguntas para esta testigo.
You may call your next witness.
Puede llamar a su siguiente testigo.
I'd like to call the decedent's surviving spouse, Ms. Martinez.
Quisiera llamar a la señora Martínez, la viuda del finado.
Sí,
Yes.
And is your name Rosa Garza Martinez?
Su
Sí.
nombre, señora, es Rosa Garza Martínez.
sí,
Yes.
And on April 5th, 2021, did your husband, Alex Martinez, die in Fort Bend County at the age of 81?
Y el 5 de abril de 2021, su esposo, Alex Martínez, ahora finado, falleció en el condado de Texas, en el condado de Fort Bend, Texas, a la edad de 81 años.
sí,
Yes.
And on that date of his death, was the decedent domiciled in Fort Bend County?
Y al momento de su fallecimiento, su esposo, ahora finado, era residente del condado de Fort Bend.
era ciudadano. Sí,
He was a U.S. citizen. He was a citizen. Yes.
Was he living in and did he have a house in Fort Bend County when he died?
Cuando él falleció, él vivía en el condado de Fort Bend. ¿Era
Sí.
residente del condado de Fort Bend?
sí,
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, the will that's on the screen was your husband's last will and testament, correct?
Y según su leal saber y entendimiento, el testamento que estamos mostrando en la pantalla es el documento, el testamento de su última voluntad de su esposo.
sí,
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, he never revoked this will, correct?
Y según su leal saber y entendimiento, su esposo nunca anuló este testamento, ¿correcto?
no, nunca.
No, never.
And after the date this will was made, there was no children were adopted or had by your husband, right?
Y después de la preparación o la ejecución de este testamento, no hubo ningún hijo que nació o que se adoptó por parte de su finado esposo, ¿correcto?
No,
No.
And no marriage was ever dissolved after the date of that will, correct?
Y después de dicha fecha del testamento, no hubo ningún matrimonio que se disolvió, ¿correcto?
no,
No.
And there is a necessity for the administration of his estate, specifically to distribute to his heirs or his beneficiaries, correct?
Y existe la necesidad de nombrar un administrador o de administrar el patrimonio que dejó su difunto esposo, es decir, para propósitos de distribución de su patrimonio a herederos o beneficiarios, ¿correcto?
no, no entiendo.
I don't understand.
Is there a need to probate the will and to have you appointed as executor of the will?
¿Existe una necesidad de confirmar este testamento y nombrarla a usted como la albacea de del testamento de su esposo?
Sí,
Yes.
And you are not disqualified by law from serving as independent executor of his estate, correct?
Y es verdad que usted no está de ninguna manera descalificada para servir o para ser nombrada como albacea independiente del testamento de su esposo, ¿correcto?
perdón,
I'm sorry.
You are not disqualified, as in you have never been found guilty of a felony or anything like that, a crime of moral turpitude, right?
Es verdad que usted no está descalificada, es decir, que usted nunca ha sido condenada de haber cometido un delito grave o de haber cometido algún delito de vileza moral que la descalifique o que no la haga a usted una persona adecuada para que sea nombrada como la albacea del testamento de su esposo, ¿correcto?
no,
No.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor, but
Muy
we are
bien.
asking that Ms. Martinez be appointed as independent executor of her husband's estate.
No tengo más preguntas para esta testigo, su señoría. Lo que estamos solicitando es que usted apruebe a que se le nombre a la señora como albacea independiente del patrimonio de su finado esposo.
Court heard the testimony of Trina Marie Nunez and Rosa Martinez. They both testified as to the proof of death, blooded will, and other facts.
Este tribunal, yo en calidad de juez, acepto los testimonios prestados por la señora Núñez y la señora Martínez, quienes han comprobado o corroborado el fallecimiento del causante y todos los otros elementos comprobados.
The court will admit the will into probate and appoint Ms. Martinez as independent executrix to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived.
Appraisers will be waived. Muy bien, por lo tanto, se admiten todos los testimonios y se admite la confirmación de dicho testamento y se procede a nombrar a la señora Rosa Garza Martínez como la albacea independiente del patrimonio del causante sin tener que pagar garantía y tampoco y se exonera en las tasaciones.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gracias, su señoría.
Ms. Martinez, I'm sorry for your loss.
Señora Martínez, siento mucho su pérdida.
All right, Ms.
you.
Zambrano, Ms. Zambrano, anything further?
No, sir, but may we be excused?
Yes.
Señora
you, Your Honor.
Zambrano, ¿algo más que añadir? No, su señoría, ¿podemos retirarnos? Sí, ahora sí.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Have a good day, y'all.
You
Bye-bye.
do the same.
Thank you.
Judge, what was the cause number that you had for this last one?
22 CPR 038264.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you said something else at the beginning.
Oh.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Very good. Mr. Logan, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm actually upstairs in Rhonda's office doing my Zoom from here. I have another hearing in court 6 at 10.
Belinda, if you can hear us, can you turn on your video and unmute yourself? The same with Miss Rigsby and Mr. Castro.
Okay, I'm done.
Miss Rigsby, you're still on mute.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Castro.
All right.
All right,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
I think we're all here. We're all connected. Can everybody hear me just fine?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Sir.
All right, let's get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038393, Estate of Thorne, Weathersby. All those who intend to testify, if you would raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Did you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Very good. You may lower your hands. Mr. Sumner, why don't you get us started?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to first call Mr. Albert Castro. Mr. Castro, can you please state your name for the court?
Alberto Castro.
And were you acquainted with the decedent Thorne Weathersby?
Yes, I was.
And how did you know Mr. Weathersby?
Mr. Weathersby was my neighbor, and I knew him approximately since 1995.
Okay, so for several decades, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And during that time that you knew Mr. Weathersby, did you know him to be married at all?
No, sir.
Did he ever mention having any children?
No, sir.
Did you ever see any children taken into his house that might be able to claim that they were adopted?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, did you know that Mr. Weathersby died in Mexico? Is that correct?
That's what I was told, yes.
But he was a resident here in Fort Bend County.
That is correct.
And did you know Mr. Weathersby well enough to where he would talk about his estate planning, whether or not he had a will or anything like that?
No, no, sir.
Okay. But you would consider yourself friendly enough to know his family history, to know his marriage history and his family?
That topic was never discussed in me knowing Thorne. It was just never discussed. So I would say I didn't know about his family history.
Okay. What about his brothers and sisters? Did he ever talk about them?
No, sir, he never did.
Okay. Do you know Mr. Oscar Weathersby and or Miss Belinda Weathersby?
I met him for the first time, I would say a couple of months ago, right after Mr. Weathersby died, because they made a visit down here.
Okay. And at that time, did they identify themselves as his siblings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever have the opportunity to go into Mr. Weathersby's house?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see any pictures of his family?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. And it's your testimony that he never talked about whether or not he had a will. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Hogan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Castro, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to finally get to meet you. Now, you and I have had an opportunity to talk about this process and the Weathersby estate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In fact, you and I had a phone conversation about 4 o'clock on Monday, the 30th of January. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And prior to that phone conversation, you had provided me a completed airship witness questionnaire. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And as I discussed with you during that phone call, that questionnaire that you filled out for me was going to become part of my report, which would eventually be filed in this matter. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding, correct.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time not only to talk to me on the 30th, but also to fill out that questionnaire. It makes things much more expedient and concise for Judge Morales and his probate auditors to have that information in that form. So we appreciate your time and your efforts and your assistance to the family. Mr. Sumner's done a phenomenal job of asking you the questions he's asked you. I'm going to follow up with a couple of others just so Judge Morales kind of has a clear understanding. You're not being offered any financial incentive for your testimony today, correct?
No, sir, none at all.
And the Weathersby estate owes you no money, correct?
Nothing, no, sir, none at all.
Okay, and in our conversation, you did indicate to me that it was your understanding that Mr. Weathersby passed in Mexico, but he lived next to you for many, many, many years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So he was a Fort Bend County resident at the time of his death, to the best of your knowledge?
The best of my knowledge, he was.
Okay, and as Mr. Sumner asked you, and you indicated that Mr. Weathersby never discussed any children that he may have fathered or adopted. Is that correct?
That is correct. That topic was never brought up in our friendship.
And all the years of living next door to him, you never saw any children there at Thorne's residence. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, Mr. Weathersby's sister and brother, who are the co-applicants in this matter, to the best of your knowledge, are his only heirs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for Mr. Castro.
Sumner, call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Miss Deidre Rigsby. Miss Rigsby, can you please state your name for the court?
Deidre Rigsby.
And did you know the decedent Thorne Weathersby?
Yes, I did.
And how did you know him?
I knew him as a friend for I think since like the middle 90s.
Okay. So about the same amount of time as Mr. Castro, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have the opportunity to talk to Mr. Weathersby about his family history, whether or not he was married or whether or not he had any children?
I mean, I guess yes. And I actually had, over the years of being a friend with him, I actually had opportunity to meet Belinda and Oscar. I had met Belinda in the city here a couple times and actually traveled to her house a few times over the years. Or when I was in California, I'd meet up with her for lunch or dinner.
Okay.
And also in regards to Oscar, I know Oscar had come to the city and I had met them for dinner. So I'd met them in person before.
Okay. And you heard a lot of the questions regarding residence and things like that I asked Mr. Castro. Is that correct?
Correct.
If I asked you those same questions, would your answer be the same?
Yes.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Hogan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Rigsby, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. And again, we appreciate your efforts and your time this morning to assist the Weathersby family.
No problem.
Similar to what I spoke with Mr. Castro about, I also have had the pleasure of speaking with you over the phone before today. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we talked about 11 o'clock on January 24th. Is that your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. And in that phone conversation, we discussed a questionnaire that I had previously sent you and that you were kind enough to fill out, complete, and return to me. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that questionnaire, as was Mr. Castro's, has now become part of my report that I've filed with the court here for our efforts this morning. Is that your understanding?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And in our conversation, you made it very, very clear that you knew the Weathersby family very, very well. And you've indicated also in testimony today that you knew Thorne never to have fathered or adopted any children. Is that your understanding?
It is. It is.
And also, sorry, I apologize. Is it also your understanding that Mr. Weathersby was never married over the course of his lifetime?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And your understanding as being as close as you have been with the Weathersby family, that his brother and sister, the co-applicants in this unfortunate matter, are his only heirs. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Also, as I asked Mr. Castro, does the Weathersby estate owe you any money? Did you ever loan Thorne money that you're looking to recoup?
No, I did not.
Has anyone offered you any financial incentive to testify today?
No, they did not.
Did you ever know Mr. Weathersby to serve in the armed forces?
No, he did not.
Okay. And as we discussed in our phone conversation, the reason I asked that is sometimes when people are overseas, relationships form and children can be born of those.
Right.
So we have to ask kind of some of these unusual questions just so Judge Morales gets a complete picture here. Do you know what Mr. Weathersby was doing in Mexico at the time of his death? Was it vacation or work?
More kind of vacation work, kind of just like a vacation home.
Oh, okay. Were you aware of any relationships that he had in Mexico, similar to what I was just implying about service overseas?
He may have had one, probably like maybe, I'm just guessing, like 4 or 5 years ago. But he was not in that relationship anymore. And I actually had met her before.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge, would any children have been born of that relationship?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions for Ms. Rigsby.
Mr. Sumner.
Your Honor, this concludes the heirship portion of today's hearing. I would ask the court to find that the only heirs of the decedent Thorne Weathersby are his brother, Oscar Weathersby, and his sister, Belinda Weathersby.
All right, after listening to testimony of Albert Castro and Deidre Rigsby, the court finds by clear and convincing evidence, decedent's heirs are those listed in the judgment declaring heirship. Now, Mr. Colgan, I'm going to discharge you from your duties as attorney ad litem. Award you a
Thank you,
fee
Your Honor.
in the amount of $1,000. Is that correct? And is that agreed to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Kenny.
All right, Mr. Colgan, you are free to go to your hearing in court.
All right.
Thank you, Will, for everything.
You betcha. You betcha. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sumner, why don't you go ahead and get started on the administration side of this?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd first like to call Oscar Weathersby. Oscar,
Yep.
could you please state your name for the court?
Oscar Robert Weathersby.
And you are the brother of the decedent Thorne Weathersby, is that correct?
Roger. Yes, sir.
And you've also signed a consent to today's application to be appointed as the independent administrator or co-administrator of this estate, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, that's been filed with the court, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, I'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the consents and waivers that are on file.
The court shall take judicial notice.
Okay. Now, your brother passed away on September the 22nd in Mexico at the age of 66. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the time of
I think you said September 22nd.
September the 3rd of 2022.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Is that the correct date, Mr. Weathersby? September the 3rd, 2022?
From what I can recall, yeah, I don't have the death certificate in front of me, but
Okay. You have no reason to dispute that, though. Is that correct?
no, sir.
Okay. And he was about 66 at the time he passed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But he was a resident here of Fort Bend County. He had a fixed residence and owned a home here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the date of his passing was certainly less than 4 years ago, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
And to the best of your knowledge, your brother was never married. Is that right?
That's correct.
And he never had any children or adopted any children?
That's correct.
Now, there's a need to administer his estate, in particular, a business that he had, as well as his real property here, located here in Fort Bend County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so there is a need to administer his estate?
Yes, sir.
And we've talked about qualification. You believe you're qualified to be the co-administrator of his estate
Yes, sir.
and work with your sister Belinda?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as you know, the estate is a non-taxable estate. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so you're asking the court today to waive any appraisers?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask the court to accept the testimony of Mr. Weathersby and to appoint him after the further testimony of Ms. Belinda Weathersby as the independent co-administrator of the estate and to waive appraisers.
All right, after listening to testimony of Oscar Weathersby, the court finds the decedent died in testate and there's a necessity for administration. I'm going to grant the request the applicant appoint Oscar and Belinda Weathersby as independent administrators of the estate. Mr. Sumner, anything further for the record?
Nothing further for the record, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Weathersby and Ms. Weathersby, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Okay.
And then for our witnesses, Ms. Rigsby and Mr. Castro, thank y'all for coming on today to help us wrap this matter up.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. May we be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
All right, that concludes our docket. We have one brief hearing this afternoon.
Okay.